The community coming together in Glens Falls tonight to light a candle for those lost in the Connecticut school shooting. For the last 6 years, the Rogers building here in downtown Glens Falls has stood empty, but now a local developer is sending it a multi-million-dollar lifeline. Republicans have a big enrollment advantage in the North Country District, which of course could benefit Matt Doheny, but both candidates say they will be victorious come Tuesday. Hurricane Sandy causes thousands of dollars in dock damage here in Lake George. I'm David Storey. I've got details coming up. The community coming together in Glens Falls tonight to light a candle for those lost in the Connecticut school shooting. Members of a local church gathered in silence this evening at Centennial Circle in downtown Glens Falls to show their respects for those lost in last Friday's shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut.
And I do believe that the power of love can overcome the deepest, darkest evil.
Local members of the Adirondack Friends meeting based in South Glens Falls joining together as 3 more young children were laid to rest today following the tragic shooting which claimed 20 children and 6 adults. Regina Haig is the church's minister and says for the many parents in her congregation, this tragedy is hitting close to home.
It's because we know that but for the grace of God, there goes our children and our community. And it's really scary to think that that could happen, but it's entirely possible.
Tonight's candlelight vigil in Glens Falls, just one of many happening across the nation tonight. In Glens Falls, for CBS 6 News, I'm David Storey. For the last 6 years, the Rogers building here in downtown Glens Falls has stood empty, but now a local developer is sending it a multi-million-dollar lifeline. Outside, this building looks like it's in pretty good shape, but the interior tells a much different story, having stood empty for 6 years. Today, developer Peter Hoffman announced he has purchased the Rogers building, as well as the vacant building next door at 14 Maple Street.
Well, the building was built in 1927. So with that, there's asbestos component in the building that we'll have to have taken out, removed, and before anybody can really do any work on the building. And then the roofs all the way on down through will be demolished and fully put back together.
The $3.5 million project will see both buildings completely gutted and then renovated into retail space on the ground floor and 37 apartments above. Ed Bartholomew is the City of Glens Falls Economic Development Director and welcomed the news that this building will soon bring a long-neglected downtown street corner back to life.
It would just be a vibrant corner. The location couldn't be more perfect across from City Park and Crandall Library. Looking at the Civil War monument right in the center of downtown, I think that Peter's indicated he doesn't feel he's going to have any difficulty in running the apartments, leasing the apartments out.
This is developer Peter Hoffman's 8th project in downtown Glens Falls, and he has seen the city come a long way during that time. He says that like Saratoga Springs to the city south, downtown is primed for development.
But I think the future of Glens Falls is very Saratoga-esque. Right now we're seeing the small shops come in, the independents. We have had some nationals come about, but the growth has been so positive. And all through 2008, where a lot of other cities and municipalities slumped, Glens Falls kept going and kept moving forward, and it's been a great progression.
Construction will start in the coming weeks and is expected to wrap up by May of 2013. In Glens Falls, for Look News, I'm David Storey. Incumbent Democratic Congressman Bill Owens was in Glens Falls Monday campaigning at a diner with Republican Assemblywoman Teresa Sayward.
I just feel for this area that Bill is the better candidate. He has a proven record on bringing jobs to the area.
Owens greeted voters inside Peter's Diner, a staple on South Street for over 50 years, as supporters of opponent Matt Doheny gathered outside. A little later in the day, they got a chance to cheer on their guy, who was joined by former Governor George Pataki.
This race reminds me so much of my first race when I ran for governor. Very close and very important. And Matt's message is what my message was. Give me a chance. We can do better. We need a new direction. And I completely agree. We can do better. We can do far better in Washington.
Doheny trailed Owens by just 1 point in the most recent poll. That same poll has the Green Party candidate with about 4% of the vote. But he has since thrown his support to Owens.
Well, that was a surprise, I have to say, but we're delighted that he sees me as the person who is going to be the most reasonable in Congress and address all of the people's concerns.
Former President Bill Clinton also announced his endorsement for Owens Monday, recording a robocall for voters. However, Doheny doesn't feel Clinton's endorsement will be a factor.
Look, my opponent's been in office for 3 years. Since that time, we have 5,000 fewer jobs and $4 trillion more of spending. We have to go in a different direction, and I'm very simple. My final closing statement to everyone is, give me a chance.
Republicans have a big enrollment advantage in the North Country District, which of course could benefit Matt Doheny. But both candidates say they will be victorious come Tuesday. For Look News, I'm David Storey. Hurricane Sandy blew through our area overnight with winds of more than 40 miles per hour, turning the waters of Lake George into an angry ocean, lashing against the village docks.
Yeah, we were down here early on, like I said, probably 4 o'clock or so. They were starting to pick up pretty good, and the spray was actually landing out on the road. It, looked like the ocean, Yeah, it was pretty intense.
The pressure of those waves crushing one of the village's public docks.
The waves were pretty significant early on yesterday, even before we really had much of the storm here. The lake picked up. The waves were pretty intense, but really we didn't have a lot of damage anywhere near that we did for Irene. Last year when we had Irene, we lost almost all of our docks. This year we just had one that was damaged.
Department of Public Works Chief David Harrington says the goal now is to find money to replace these damaged docks. He says it's not in the budget, but they're applying for grant funds.
We're hoping to get them replaced in the spring. I know that the 3 that we put in were over $100,000, so probably in that neighborhood this year to replace the next 3.
And you have that money in the budget?
Well, no, actually, prior to this, we put in a grant application to the Department of State to have these docks replaced anyways after Irene, so we're still keeping our fingers crossed on that.
Harrington says that his crew spent much of the day traveling around the village looking for other damage. The good news, it seems Lake George weathered the storm just fine. For CBS 6 News, I'm David Storey.